okay, to where it's going to be a piece of cake. Okay, and she's going to go over that. So her background, I'm just going to get started right now because she has a lot of great material. So let's go ahead and get her started right now.
Hello. Hi, Grandpa. So, for those of you guys who don't know who I am, I know there's a couple of you who've been to my talks before, or there are some clients of mine, but my name's Autumn, and I'm a certified clinical nutritionist. And I work with a lot of clients with many different ways of finding how to get to your goal with different types of techniques, healing techniques, and intermittent fasting is one really cool one that I've been using with people ranging from athletes to those experiencing weight loss or those who just want some increased energy. Next slide. So with me, I first started with intermittent fasting. I was scared to start with intermittent fasting. Like what my dad was saying, I am a foodie, so the thought of not having food whenever I want was terrifying. But I was experiencing a lot of problems about a year ago that even though I was changing my lifestyle and changing my diet and implementing all the things that I had learned for my own life, I was still experiencing things like bloating and anxiety and just decreased energy. And that didn't make sense to me. So after, I go to a ton of different health seminars. And they were going over all of the different studies and the research on why this is so great. So I decided to give it a go. I thought maybe I'll give just a couple days. Try a couple days of intermittent fasting and see how it goes. And after just a couple days, I was not getting any more bloating. I had significantly increased energy, and my anxiety was a lot better. I also, like I mentioned, I work with other people. I use intermittent fasting as a tool for other people as well. Next slide. It actually works really well with a lot of professional athletes too. So one of my clients is Elliot Sloan. He's a professional skater, and he actually won the X Games in 2017. But after the X Games, he said that he had a little bit too much fun and gained a little bit of weight, and it was suffering. It was causing his career to suffer. Because for him, if he doesn't have that increased energy level, then he can't train. And that's his career. He needs to be able to train every day. So he came to me, and he's also a foodie, but I got him convinced that this is something that would really help him with his career and to help him maintain muscle mass while getting rid of that fat mass and increasing energy levels. And he started off by saying that he thought that there was going to be no way he could get down to his goal weight. It was his goal, it was his stretch, his dream, but he didn't think he'd be able to get there. And after 1 month of working with me with intermittent fasting, he not only got down to his goal weight, but he also had more energy than even when he was 17 years old training for different state competitions. So intermittent fasting can help a lot of different people. It just really depends on what your goal is and how you use intermittent fasting to get you there. Next slide. So tonight, I'm going to be going over 3 categories for intermittent fasting: the what, the why, and the how. So I saw a lot of hands go up when you said that you've heard of or done fasting, but has anybody done intermittent fasting here? Sure, Jenna, you've done it too. So what intermittent fasting is, you can go to the next slide. It's a simple idea, but it's where you don't eat for about 16 hours of the day, and you close down the gap of when you eat to about 4 or 8 hours. Usually 8 hours is a good place to start. And then you fast the remainder of the time. So simple, right? Next slide. This is just a short list of different things that I've personally seen with some of my clients that it's helped with. So increased energy levels, that one's huge. It's night and day for that increased energy levels. Decreased bloating, that's something I've personally experienced and it's life-changing. Increased cellular cleanup, I'm going to go over all the science on that, so I hope you guys are ready for some 8th grade biology. Increased fat burning, decreased brain fog, decreased risk of various chronic diseases, and increased brain health. All of those have not only been scientifically proven to be benefits of intermittent fasting, but I've also seen it personally. Next slide. So, like I mentioned, athletes do really well with intermittent fasting. Those who are trying to lose weight do really well with intermittent fasting. And if you're trying to normalize your hormones, this is great for it. ultimately, really, most people can benefit from intermittent fasting. There are some, which I'll get into, that should probably be cautioned with it, but in general, most people can benefit from it. Next. So now the why. So this is the science, the fun stuff, the stuff that I like to talk about. So next slide. We are going to be going over 4 main areas of how intermittent fasting affects your body. So weight loss, your hormones, gut health, and energy levels. So the first one is weight loss. So studies show that intermittent fasting not only decreases your fat mass, but it helps you to maintain your lean muscle mass. Now this is really important because most diets are all about restricting your calories, right? So a lot of different things are really focused on just bringing your calorie count down. Well, what happens with decreasing your calories is that you decrease weight, your fat, yeah, but you also decrease your muscle mass. And that's not something you want, especially if you're going to the gym every day and you're trying to maintain that muscle mass while getting rid of the fat. But what intermittent fasting does, next slide, is that it actually helps you to get rid of the fat while maintaining the muscle. So the previous train of thought for losing weight in general is that it's calories in versus calories out. So you have to burn more calories than you're taking in. Who's heard that before? Right? Okay, so that's actually a really antiquated idea because it simplifies our body to a machine that we put energy in and then we use that energy and that's all the interaction that happens. But our food has so much interaction with our bodies. What we eat, when we eat it, that all has an effect on our hormones, which our hormones are the things that, bless you, our hormones are the things that will say whether or not we store that food or we burn it. Nutrigenomics, that's a really cool field. So that's the study of how your food actually affects your genetics. And how your genes are expressed will determine if you're going to be in fat burning mode or fat storing mode. And then sleep and toxicities. I know that a few of you guys here went to my detox and stress workshop, so you know all about how that can affect your weight loss or weight gain. But basically what I want you to understand with this is that there's no simple answer when it comes to weight loss. This is just a couple things that affects it. And intermittent fasting really affects multiple of these, so that's what's cool about this. Next. So I want you, we're gonna start getting into the science. So there's 3 main ways to burn energy. You can either burn energy with fat, carbs, or protein. So it's really simple. Stored carbs, anybody here long distance runners or ever done the 10K or half marathons? So you've heard of carbo loading, having a bunch of pasta the night before? So that's because you're using your carbs. You're fueling up your carb gas tank. And you can only store up to 2,000 calories worth of carb energy. But most people are in the mode of burning carbohydrates. Now stored fat, you have up to, even if you have a very lean body mass and you're only 10% body fat, you still have at least 40,000 calories worth of fat to tap into. Now I'm not a math major, but I'm pretty sure 40,000 is bigger than 2,000. Which means that we want to tap into that to help to increase our energy levels. And that's another great thing is that not only are we getting increased energy when we start to tap into the fat, we also are then losing weight. So it's win-win. The last area, I just wanted to put it up here so you would understand this, but you can also burn energy from protein. But that's really you're only burning energy from muscle. And that's what can happen if you're on a calorie restriction diet. Your body starts to think it's in starvation mode. It's the last resort. You don't want to burn energy from your muscles. So what do you want to burn energy from? Fat. Okay, next. Okay, and with intermittent fasting, what we already started to talk about is that it actually taps into that fat storage. So most of us are programmed, at least we've been programmed, especially with eating right when we wake up, to eat right when we wake up, and that makes it so we can't tap into our fat stores. The intermittent fasting studies, many studies are showing that it significantly switches that fat burning mechanism on. So you're in that fat burning mode where you're losing weight and increasing your energy levels because you have that steady source of energy. Next. Okay, so the next area I wanted to really talk about are hormones. Now, your body has a ton of hormones in it. The job of your hormones is to tell messages from one area of your body to the next. So that's where you get things like whether or not you're going to be in fat burning or storing. So growth hormone is one hormone that's really important when it comes to fat loss. What growth hormone's job is to do is it actually turns on your fat burning mechanism while keeping it so that your body is sparing your muscle mass. So remember, that's what we want. And that's what's really great with intermittent fasting is that it increases your body's growth hormone. Next. It increases your body's growth hormone up to 2,000%. That's what studies are showing. That's an actual stat that studies are finding, which is crazy because if you eat right away in the morning, then you turn off those growth hormones. Eating actually suppresses growth hormone. So by doing intermittent fasting, you're getting a longer amount of time where you have exposure to growth hormone, which means that you're in that fat burning metabolism and you're sparing that muscle mass. Next. So I'm sure you've heard this before. Eating every 2 to 3 hours is really important in order to rev up your metabolism so you can look like these guys, right? No? Well, this is something that is another antiquated theory that I'm going to debunk for you right now. Go next. So this is based off of really old research. Anybody recognize this? Yeah. So what's at the base of this?
Carbs.
Grains, pasta. Let me literally read it to you. Bread, cereal, rice, pasta. And I don't know if you can read that, but it says 6 to 11 servings a day. Yeah, so that means you're having at least 2 to 3 servings for every meal, eating that 4 to 5 times a day. So in order for in order for you to have that much bread, cereal, pasta, which is really high in carbohydrates, you have to eat every couple hours. Because when you start off your day with carbohydrates, really high carbohydrates, so let's think oatmeal fruit. Sounds like a nice healthy breakfast, right? Well, what happens when you have something like that right away is it spikes your insulin level, which remember, insulin actually suppresses growth hormone. So you turn off growth hormone, which means that you're not getting fat burning metabolism. You spike your insulin, and then that causes an immediate drop in insulin, which makes you hungry again in 2 to 3 hours. Hence the eating every 2 to 3 hours. And that's the only way that you can possibly fit in 6 to 11 servings of pasta every day. And that goes back to the stored glucose. You have 2,000 calories worth, which is why when you are in this state of using carbohydrates as your main source of energy, that you're not able to last very long without it because you tap out and you get hungry. And instead of using this 40,000 calories minimum of calories, your body's using carbohydrates, which is very limited in the amount of energy you can get. Next. So there's another player that comes into hormones. So we talked about insulin, which is the one that causes you to gain fat. And then we talked about growth hormone, which causes fat burning. Now, testosterone is something that actually both men and women need, and it further increases fat burning. And studies are finding that with just one day of intermittent fasting, your testosterone increases by 180%. It's huge. So it just shows how intermittent fasting can further bring you out of using carbohydrates as your energy source and use fat instead, which makes you have those increased energy levels and then also lose weight. Next. Okay, so now we're going to get into the gut. So this is the third area that we're going to talk about. So the gut is my area of expertise because it's nutrition and that's where it all begins. So I like to talk about it. But the gut health has become a really big problem with the US. We have a highly inflammatory diet which causes our gut to be really inflamed as well. And if you have an inflamed gut, that's where you absorb all of your nutrients. So if your gut's inflamed, then you aren't able to absorb nutrients, which is why maybe you start to break out, or why you have low energy levels, because your body doesn't have the B vitamins to absorb in order to use it for your metabolism. So if you don't have a high functioning gut, then your body can't use a lot of functions in its body. So what happens with intermittent fasting is that it actually gives your gut a break and it decreases inflammation. So just by resting your gut and not eating for a certain amount of time every day, it makes it so that your body will naturally heal itself. And that's really what I believe in, is that your body can heal itself just with given the right tools. And this tool is just not eating for a little bit amount of time. Next. And the last area I'm going to talk about tonight for the why is energy levels. So have you guys, this might be a stretch, but have you heard of autophagy? Got one. So autophagy, what it means in Latin is self-eating. And that sounds like a bad thing, but it's actually really good. It's where your body can actually heal itself. So I'm going to give you, this is where the 8th grade biology comes in. Any of you remember what a cell looks like? Yeah? Well, let's say this is your cell. Your body is made up of cells, right? Every single part of your body has cells. So your body has these things called mitochondria, and that's what's pictured up there. Each cell has between 400 to 1,000 different mitochondria. And the mitochondria are the powerhouses. Think of it as the energy producer. So that means it powers every single thing that you do. So between breathing and walking and just living, your mitochondria is what supports that. So let's go back to our beautiful circle of the cell. So you have all these mitochondria. And if they're constantly being used, like any machine, what happens if you don't allow maintenance time? Breaks down. So you get some pretty disgruntled workers in here. They aren't very happy that they haven't gotten their break time. So the mitochondria are no longer efficiently producing energy for you. And that's when you get those sluggish feelings, or you feel lethargic or tired. And there's actually diseases like cancer that have been found to directly relate back to these disgruntled mitochondria. Now it happens in autophagy, which remember is the self-eating. When you give your body the amount of time to just rest, it actually goes into the cell and cleans up. It takes these disgruntled workers out, and it only leaves in mitochondria that's more than happy to burn fat for you. And that's the essence of where you come down to the fact that intermittent fasting actually increases your health, decreases your risk of chronic disease, and increases your energy levels. Which, something that's really cool, the last line on there, multiple rounds of intermittent fasting actually causes you to have even more mitochondria that are producing well, that are producing the energy that you need. So the more that you do intermittent fasting every day, you're getting rid of the disgruntled workers. And then you start to realize that you have a lot of energy because you have all these happy mitochondria. Next. So now we're going to get into the how. We went into a lot of science just then, a lot of the why and the function of how this works, but maybe you're wondering how you actually do it. So next. So I'm going to break this down into 5 main questions that I always get whenever it comes to intermittent fasting. Now the first one, what's the best time to fast? Now a good place to start for this is that you take your natural fasting period of sleeping into account. So you're already not eating, so you might as well take advantage of that. A good window to start is from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. is where you'll eat. Because your body naturally also has higher levels of cortisol in the morning, which turns off your hunger feelings. So 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. is a good place to start for those eating windows. Next. Okay, what about a sweet tooth?
Yeah.
Because that's the question that I'm sure you're already thinking. So, like I said, with these disgruntled workers, they really only know how to use sugar because that's an easy source to burn. They don't want to go into the fat burning because that's a more difficult source. But the more that you're using the intermittent fasting, the more of these happy workers that you have. So the ones that will give you the energy or be able to use fat as their source of energy. But in the transition, while you have a sweet tooth, because who doesn't, even I have it sometimes, the best thing to have is some dark chocolate. Now, dark chocolate is rich with antioxidants. It's actually been shown to help with weight loss too, because of the antioxidants that's in dark chocolate. But you really want to make sure it's high quality dark chocolate. So I recommend at least 70% dark chocolate with limited sugar. Non-GMO is really important, especially if you've been to my detox workshop, you know all about that. And then no sugar alcohols. So this is a big one because sugar alcohols, even though they don't provide sugar, so it doesn't make you have a spiked blood glucose level, it actually is a huge gut irritant. So it makes it so that your body doesn't respond well to the healing that you're doing with the intermittent fasting. Yeah, so sugar alcohols include like xylitol, erythritol, sorbitol, anything OL at the end really. Those are different types of sugar alcohols. And your body doesn't process it like sugar, so like I said, it doesn't cause a raise in your blood glucose levels, but it's a huge gut irritant, so I don't recommend it. But one that I have found I really recommend and I love is actually Q chocolate, which since you guys came out tonight, I brought some samples for you, so you all get some chocolate tonight. You can grab it on your way out. There's a little bar. So make sure to grab that on your way out. Next. So the third question. Let's get back on track after talking about chocolate, guys. So fasting and exercise. When do you exercise if you're fasting? Now, when you work out, your body naturally increases its cortisol levels. And cortisol is something that you want to keep just to the morning because if you have it at night, that can disrupt your sleep. So in general, it's always just best to work out in the morning anyway. But it's especially great when you pair with intermittent fasting to have your workouts be in the morning because you have that higher level of growth hormone. So you're already using fat as energy. So you might as well take advantage of the fact that high growth hormone will protect your muscles from breakdown and then also supply the fat energy for your workout. Next. So the fourth question, drum roll. How to break a fast. This is huge, very important. This is where I see a lot of failures for people who just try out intermittent fasting just thinking of not eating for a certain amount of time. This is why you will get severely hungry, is if you don't properly break your fast. Now the best way to break it is to make sure that you've already gone through where you're not spiking your insulin or your blood glucose levels and you're in the fat burning from fasting. So you want to smooth out that transition. Make that transition as easy as possible so that you don't have an immediate spike in blood glucose levels after you've just done such a great job of keeping them down. So what you want to do is have higher levels of fat and protein in the morning. So it can be like a high fat or high protein smoothie, that's great. Also some avocado, coconut oil, coconut butter, eggs, olive oil, all great things to have when you first break your fast. And next. And so the last question. There it goes. The last question, what can you have during the fast? Now this might seem like a trick question because technically fasting means that you don't have anything, but with the purposes of intermittent fasting, we're looking at not spiking your blood glucose levels. So the two things that can spike your blood glucose levels are actually carbs and protein. So it's a common misconception that you can have protein during your fasting period because it doesn't technically contain carbohydrates, but protein in the absence of carbohydrates can actually be converted into carbs. So that can spike your blood glucose level and take you out of the fasting. So if you're going to have something, you can have keto coffee, which I have every morning. I've adopted that and it's really great. It's actually also great if you have that, which keto coffee is essentially a mixture of mold-free, toxin-free coffee, which, what is it? Purity? You guys are on it? Okay. So it's really important to make sure that you have mold-free, toxin-free coffee. I've talked about that before in other talks, but basically if you don't, then that can actually mess with your hormones even more. The brand that I recommend for coffee is called Purity Coffee. It's it's great.
No, I had regular coffee the other day because I ran out of Purity and I was shaking the whole day.
Yeah.
I felt like I was going to pass out.
Yeah, so basically it's because regular coffee is really tainted with mold. And that's, other than just being gross, it also can really mess with your anxiety levels and make it so that your body it messes up your mitochondria even at the cellular level. It's just not good stuff. So the brand that I recommend is Purity, and you can actually get that online, and they lab test all of their coffees, so it's the best one. But anyway, going back to the keto coffee, The reason why this is also so great to have during your fasting period is because keto coffee contains grass-fed butter. And grass-fed butter is really high in butyric acid. There's not many food sources that contain butyric acid, and this is butyric acid helps to actually decrease your gut inflammation. So remember, it all goes back to also decreasing your gut inflammation because most people have highly inflamed guts. So it actually works really well in tandem with intermittent fasting. And it only contains fat. So that's the key point. If you're going to have something, it can only be fat because everything else is converted to sugar. And that's what will get you out of your fast. Now some other things that you can have, unsweetened tea that doesn't contain anything, so it's fine. Water, Celtic sea salt, which I actually highly recommend Celtic sea salt to have in the morning because it helps with if anybody has adrenal fatigue or if you are dehydrated. It's really great to have a pinch of that in the morning. But yeah, it comes down to the point that only fat during your fasting period. Next. So to recap, intermittent fasting can do a lot of really great things for a lot of people. It can increase energy levels, decrease your fat percentage, increase your muscle mass, balance your hormones. It's just a short list of things. It's really important though that you're taking a look at how you're doing it. Next. So like I said, there are some people that need to be cautious when it comes to intermittent fasting. So if you have a history of eating disorders, if you're taking medications, or if you're pregnant or breastfeeding, those are all things that you should be wary of or consult your nutritionist with to make sure that it's right for you. But in general, it's really important to make sure that intermittent fasting is personalized to your goals. So I actually have a friend who a couple months ago called me because she has leaky gut, and her functional medicine doctor told her to try out intermittent fasting to help heal it. So remember, intermittent fasting, huge at healing the gut, really important. So I didn't give her really any guidelines, and she just looked up some information online and picked her window and tried it out. But what happened is she got the exact opposite results that she was looking for. So she got even more bloated, and she was gaining weight. So she came to me, and we talked it out and figured out a plan that worked best for her. Just like how if you were at the gym and you were an endurance runner, you wouldn't go seeking advice from somebody who's an Olympic weightlifter. They're completely different types of goals and how you're going to set your goals and your action plans in order to achieve those goals. Next. It is really important to review the health history, which is something that I do. Go over your nutrition, health history, your lifestyle, what it is that you want out of the program to make sure that you can achieve what you want. So that's what I did with my friend when she came to me. We reviewed her health history, went over her goals, set the program, and within a month she was at her goal weight and she was no longer bloated. So like I said, it's really important to individualize your approach. I actually have in the back, Kelly's in the back, raise your hand. She's setting appointments in the back, so if you're interested in intermittent fasting, have a plan or approach that you want, then come set an appointment with me and schedule that, and we can talk through what's going to be best for you and what it is that you need to do in order to reach those goals. But before you leave, make sure you also grab the chocolate because I brought a lot. But thank you guys for coming tonight, and I really appreciate you coming out here. I'm so excited that there's so many people who are interested in health and nutrition in the first place. It's my passion, so if you have any questions, I'll be in the back as well. Thank you.